Hey there, everybody. I'm so excited.
No.
I doing these panels have been so much fun. And we are a week away. Next week, this time, we'll be actually talking about the end of the next Kindle flash sale. So if you're not already kind of in the know, type the word Kindle and tell me about the kind of books you like to read, and I will drop a link when the campaign opens next week. We'll have 34 books discounted to 99 cents. A few are $1.99. Definitely want to check that out. And now let me formally introduce this week's panel. You've been thinking about writing a book. Maybe you've started collecting ideas, blocked time in your calendar to begin, or even outlined a few chapters. But before you invest hundreds of hours writing, editing, and publishing, there's one question that deserves your attention. Is this book actually worth the time and effort? For entrepreneurs, a book should do more than just share your expertise. It shouldn't just be a business card. It should support your business goals. It should attract the right audience, create opportunities for speaking engagements and media appearances, strengthen your credibility, and lead readers towards the work you most want to do. That kind of outcome doesn't happen by accident. It starts with asking the right questions before you write the first chapter. And that's why I created the Author ROI Lab. It's a small group program that helps entrepreneurs evaluate whether the book they're considering is worth writing, and if so, how to position it to maximize its return on investment. The fall cohort is now open, but registration closes on August 1st, 2026. If you've been thinking about publishing a business book in 2027, now is the perfect time to gain clarity before you commit months of your life to the wrong project. Sign up at authorroilab.com and reach out if you'd like to chat with me first. And now let's meet our panel. Bill Miller wrote What Every CEO Must Know, 37 Secrets to Lead with Confidence and Power, a practical leadership guide that shares essential lessons to help CEOs make better decisions, build stronger organizations, and lead with greater confidence and effectiveness. Ahmed Zouhair wrote Going Pro 2.0, Master Your Next Professional Journey, a career development guide that equips professionals with the mindset, strategies, and practical tools to navigate career transitions, accelerate growth, and achieve long-term success. Please join me in welcoming Ahmed and Bill. Ahmed, this first question is over to you. I'd love to hear a little more about who you had in mind as you were writing the book, who's the ideal reader, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you. Hello, Bill. Well, really short story. I really wish I had you in your ROI lab because at first I didn't have no idea what this book should be for, and it's just like trial and error, some brainstorming, and just trying to use my expertise and what I learned through the years. And I said, how can I make an impact and write this book? And it was just a lot of trial and error. So it was just the first one. It was really hard.
It is really hard, especially in the beginning when you don't really understand what audience even means. So in the end, who has been really responding to the book?
Yes. So in the end, I think it's small business owners, entrepreneurs, and startups.
Okay, so it's a big wide world of people who need career advice, and you've been able to kind of niche it down a bit. Bill, what about you? Welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about who you had in mind as you were working on this book.
Thanks for having me. And it's always a pleasure to be on these with you, Robbie. And Ahmed, this is the first one we've actually made it together. We were
Yes.
scheduled once before. Anyway, so What Every CEO Must Know is my second book. The first one, I was really just sharing stories because I had a seat at the table for many, many years with CEOs, and I worked for 9 rookie CEOs in a row. The second book had the difference with the second book is I wrote it with intention. One of the things I'm sure you teach in your lab is to research your audience, who you think you're writing it for, and really you write it for one person. Identify that one person, and then you're going to hit your target market. And my goal with the first book was to change at least one person's life, and that's because I had a coach that took me that direction. The second book, I clearly from day one not only did that, which is first time CEOs and also people that fall into first time CEOs, founders who become CEOs, and a CEO that's stuck. just completely stuck. And I've had clients and I've worked with CEOs that have been a first time CEO for many years, and they're stuck after so many years because they've kind of run out of gas. They hit a plateau. They don't stay market aware or self aware. They don't understand their blind spots, and that's what I've ended up writing about. This second book, What Every CEO Must Know, is about real life mistakes that CEOs have made. Uh, all the stories are real from real CEOs. More than half of the CEOs in the book are clearly identified by name, the company they were at, and it's the biggest mistake they made, how they could have avoided it, how they recovered from it, and how they move forward. And not everyone recovers.
Well,
So
what I'm thinking right now is the old adage, "What gets you here won't get you there." Like there's a
very,
certain
very
skill
true.
set,
Yep.
particularly founders who become CEOs. I mean, the reason you become a founder is different than the reason you want to run a business.
Hmm.
This happens on all scales, small scales and big scales. Um, the fact that you also built up the trust to get people to share their real stories is astounding.
Yeah.
That's cool that you noted that, because I think a lot of times we want to protect the guilty, you know, hide
Yeah.
their names a little bit.
Well, it's
All right,
interesting if you look at real life, like the well-known CEOs like Michael Dell and Steve
sure.
Jobs and Larry Ellison. You look at a lot of these big-time CEOs who everybody knows, and you read books about their biography and the stories. A lot of them worked their way up, and they stayed CEO for many years. But I guarantee they're not successful because they're lonely at the top. They're successful because they've learned how to build a team, leverage the team, and make the team to work. And they made every mistake in the book. Just like I'm not even one of those guys, multi gazillionaires, and I've made every mistake in the book, and I write about this stuff all the time.
Well, I want
So
to dig in a little bit with Ahmed and then you, Bill, about writing a second book, because the impetus to write a first book is often tied to wanting some credibility, and the book is a fast way to do that. Um, you know, Presumably there's a message you want to share with the world, that you feel compelled to do so. Those things don't always map out to business strategy. They more like the things we feel compelled to do. But to write a second book, having lived through Ahmed, the effort of the first book, I think that's a whole different calculus. So what led you to decide the second book was worthwhile? And is there anything you changed about your approach, your goals, like your audience? Did anything shift that was a lesson learned from the first book?
The short answer, Ravi and Bill, is everything changed. So what happened? The first book was lessons learned. So the second book was target audiences like next generation, Gen Z, and next future generation. The book is should be simple. It should have a signature framework that is mine, based on the framework that I worked with in management, product management, project management. So I figured out, hey, there is an ROI. So I used the IOR, which is, instead of return on investment, I said people should focus on investment on your return. So impact on results. So it starts with an I, an O, and result. So I is like your inward, which is your inputs, your inventories of skills, network, relationship, infrastructure, your identity. All the I's should be in there. Then the O is like, how do you see the outside, the outward, which is really your brand, your opportunities. How do you observe things around you, and the result is really the correlation between the I and O. So, and like what you said, Bill, these CEOs, Michael Dell and Larry, they were not looking at success. They're looking at sustainable business that will last for years. So they didn't look for quick cash or get rich quick. You can see today with AI, people are not talking about ROI. They're talking more about, let's invest. We need more data center infrastructure. We need some more power. no more cooling system, more compute, blah blah blah. So that's really what I'm sharing with this new generation. I'm saying, hey guys, don't worry about the result. You need to invest. In the inventory your resources, your requirement. If it's a business, understand what you're looking for. What is your idea? How you're going to implement it, and so forth. For career, is the same thing. Like people, they're looking for a job and said, hey, you need to look for what skills, what gap analysis you need to have
Mm.
before you apply for that. And you forget you should also volunteer to create that gap, that experience, and so forth. So I really learned a lot from the first book, and I capitalize on making sure that this book has a good flow. It's very
Mhm.
simple. It has really three steps, IOR, and it goes like that.
I'm curious, who helped you understand that shift? Were you part of an author community? Were you working with a writing coach? Did you have a mentor? Like how did you come
Yes.
to realize that framework was needed and it didn't have to be a long book and I mean all these pieces you're describing?
Well, it took at least 4 or 5 years to come up with my signature keynote because this started by watching a lot of speakers, by being a member of NSA Austin and getting the privileges of attending conferences, the national speaking that was in Arizona 2 years ago. And I was able to hear and listen to Mark LeBlanc, Maura Thomas, Trevor, and so many. And you keep trying. So okay, what is my signature? How am I gonna make an impact to my audiences? And after spending like literally 4 or 5 years, I finally came up with my signature keynote. And it took a lot of to answer you. It took a lot of mentoring, coaching, tech exchange sessions, and so many conferences that I end up. Of course, there I have an editor. Of course, I have a
Yeah.
lot of support.
I love that you brought National Speakers Association into the conversation. I've been a part of it for over a decade, and I think that it's really important that
Same
authors
here.
and speakers find their people, and finding other people who are good at what you're trying to be good at is a good way to get a little bit of a roadmap about what's happening,
Yeah,
particularly because sometimes you don't even know what questions to ask, and um, the also I love that you've emphasized that it is not a quick thing to come up with your perfect framework. There are some people I know who sort of specialize in helping unlock that for you. But it's built off of a body of knowledge that you've accumulated over a period of time, and they're just helping you make it like, pulled together in a fancy way. But if you don't have that interaction, the years of work, the months and years that go into the experience, I think those kinds of books are really key. And it's such a different quality book built
yeah,
on lived experience and real effort versus these people who are like, oh, follow these 12 prompts and you'll have a book in a weekend or an hour and a half or 20 seconds, or I don't even know what the promises are anymore.
yes.
That's not as impressive at all. Like that's not useful. That just sounds like every generic thing out there. Bill, what about you? I mean, your books have a similar audience, like obviously one built on the other, but did anyone help you navigate the first book, and did you get different kinds of support as you were navigating what to do with the second book?
So, in I had help with the production process,
Mhm.
and I think we discussed this once before. I use self-publishing, Chandler Bolt's uh, publishing school, but the book itself I had envisioned as early as 1998 and started to collect information over the next 20 years. I had decided to not publish until I was retired, and I was forcefully retired during the beginning of the pandemic, and I was way past retirement age anyway. So I just used it as a semi-retirement and wrote my first book. But that book, the thing that made the first book different than how I originally envisioned it, is that I ended up directly reporting to 9 first-time CEOs, and
Mhm.
that did change the shape of the book. But the
Yeah.
title of the book, I actually came up with the title of the book in 1998. I just didn't publish it until 2020.
This is the rookie CEO. Excuse me.
Yes,
The rookie CEO you can't make
Right. That is the
Go
first
ahead, you
book.
say it. I'm gonna choke over here.
Right. The Rookie CEO, you can't make this stuff up.
Thank you.
And the thing is that a lot of the CEOs from that book are featured in the second book as well. The
Uh,
thing that's kind of interesting is the second book, I got into more depth because I did focus on the mistakes. The original title of the second book was 77, the top 77 mistakes that CEOs make. And the subtitle was going to be how to avoid them and how to recover from them. And I ended up in the first interviews when I would interview the CEOs that are featured in the book, and they would sign a disclaimer so that I could use this because it's evergreen content once you publish a book. And they had to be willing to identify
right.
themselves or not. But the thing that's interesting is um, for the second book, the intention is I wanted it to be a reference book, which is a little bit different. And I wrote it with marketing in mind as I wrote it, which I did not do at all for the first book. I didn't,
Wow.
even though I had self publishing school, they helped me with the production process. How do you get an editor? How do you pick an editor? Are you going to need developmental editing? Oh boy, did I need developmental editing. And I learned all that stuff as I went through that. And there's a lot of programs like this today. You yourself offer one, and I think you know Chandler in that program as well. It's very different today. Most of the nonfiction self-publishing programs today are about building your business to build around the book.
I think
And
that's the key here, Bill, is that a lot of people can help you take an idea and publish it. Like, and I always use the metaphor triathlon because
Yeah.
the writing is the first phase, and there's some people are going to need a lot of help just with the writing phase, and then most everybody the first time has a lot of questions about publishing, which includes the editing and the formatting and the cover design and ISBNs and a whole bunch of other things that people are like, what are we talking about? But then the third part is about the launch and the marketing. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of authors are left entirely on their own to figure that out. And I think that's what you're saying. The difference was between book 1 and 2 is that you started with like you started thinking about the book's life, once it existed, as opposed to just kind of get the book to exist.
correct. And so because of that, the flow of the book is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Each chapter is actually an individual chapter. You can skip around if you find a specific subject area. I've divided it into strategic lessons, communications experiences, people, team, and culture, and I break all those down. And there are, the at the end of each chapter in the first book, I have a takeaway. In the end of the chapters for the second book, I have secrets, which kind of I ended up bringing into the subtitle of the book because they are the big takeaway. There's a lot of takeaways and frameworks in the second book, and I use frameworks that I've used in my career for well over 3 decades. I have 5.5 decades in technology, 3.5 decades of senior leadership. And believe me, having a seat at the table, you get a chance to see the patterns and the thinking process and the decision process of all these
Yeah.
CEOs.
I think what
And
I'm
so
also
I'm
hearing from
trying
you,
to
Bill,
help people.
what I'm also hearing from you, Bill, is that you thought about how the user was going to be reading it.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so the design of the book is different. The fact that chapters are standalone, it's a choose your own adventure. Like your first book had takeaways built in. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people I talk to who haven't thought to even include, summaries or takeaways or questions at the end of their chapters or sections. They have no lead magnet or opt-in bonus content designed for the book. There's so many pieces that often get missed. I'd love to hear from you, Ahmed, about sort of how your definition of success may have evolved. I mean, it sounds like Bill was thinking about the reader's experience, the marketing piece of it. What changed for you as far as what you hoped would happen from the second book?
I think you already mentioned it, Robbie. I think the lessons learned from the first book, and I don't want to make the same mistakes that I made in the second book, which is really my weakest link, which is really marketing and branding the book to my audiences after you publish, whether it's self-publishing or KDP, paperback, whatever. And I think I don't want to make that same mistake. And of course, I have to make sure this book meet the requirements of my audiences, make it so easy to read, because people really don't have time to read. And you got to make it a little bit with a lot of visuals, a lot of cues, puzzles, assessments, takeaways, call to actions, and really help create a dialogue, make it more engaging with your audiences. Like, what do you think? Your thought. And I like when I do that, I feel like I'm communicating with my audience already, and I see that success to me is it going to be success from the perspective of my audience is it going to be sustainable? Is going to meet the requirement of my audience? It's going to help them make an impact, and that's really how I define success. When I hear from the reviews, or talking about reviews, is like, if somebody read my book and I used your framework of reviews, like, what is it that you like and caught your attention about my book, and why did it take it? What did it? Why did it do that to you? And who do you think who you should share it with, and so forth? And I like that framework that you said it last time in April. I used it, and I'm using it going forward. Even when I give reviews, I use the same framework that I learned from you, Robbie, which is, what is it that you liked and why you liked it, and who should read it and know about it.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. And Ahmed, the Going Pro 2.0 was June of 2025. I see you also have Going Pro 3.0 with that slightly different audience. That just came out, a month ago.
Yes.
And it sounds like the book's out there, but not fully launched. So tell me about your plans for this Going Pro 3.0.
Okay. The reason you use it's kind of like your software development framework.
Yep.
So you go Going Pro 2.0, you go Going Pro 3.0, and maybe you go 4.0 to give yourself room for improvement.
Sure.
It's small incremental improvement process like Kaizen. And I think what I'm doing with this Going Pro 3.0 is lessons learned, like what Bill is doing, going deep, taking stuff that's more relevant, AI application tools, and stuff that's going to help.
And the launch plan for the book?
The launch plan is still ongoing, because I'm doing a survey in parallel with this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be surveying a lot of CEO. Bill is one of my candidates. I already asked him about my survey, and I'm going to ask a few other founders and CEO to help with the surveys. I'm going to use that also as part of the book, lessons learned, and share that with my audiences.
That's cool. I mean, I think it's always about figuring out how to get the biggest buzz as the book comes out. Speaking of buzz, Bill, I'm looking at your two books, and your first book has 123 global ratings and 25 written reviews. And your second book has 27 ratings and 17 reviews. Interestingly, I will tell you that what that tells me is your second time around, you were really focused on reviews. I know that sounds oxymoronic, but like getting ratings is not as hard.
Right.
And I know you were part of that author community, and they're all supporting each other, but they don't always clarify the difference between a rating, like leaving someone 5 stars, and actually leaving a review. And so I think a lot of people get excited. Oh, I have over 100 reviews. And it's like, no, you don't. You only have 25, which is not nothing, because a lot of books don't even get 20. But the ratio of reviews to ratings was much stronger in your second go around. So how are you approaching, getting more reviews? This is part of, I think, being part of the Kindle flash sale, which you've joined, and you'll join again, it sounds like. So how are you thinking about that piece of the marketing?
So what's interesting, and I'd be interested in some of the things you're doing to get around this, but I've had people contact me on LinkedIn, say they've done a review and it doesn't get published. And they'll send me the review, which I can use either in my editorials or I can use somewhere else in a blog post or something. And I'm a little bit surprised at people I don't really know that buy the book, write a review, and it doesn't get put up there. Uh, that that's a little bit disappointing. However, uh, I do I do have lead magnets. I had a lead magnet in the first book. I think I've mentioned before. I still have a client from that very first book from 2020. It was published in 2020. I got the client in early 22 from the lead magnet in the book, and he just reached out. Not only did he get the lead magnet, he he took a lot of the takeaways from that book, and he created a laminated piece that he has right next to his computer of things not to do and things to do as a CEO. And I have a call with him tomorrow because we have an ongoing relationship. But
That's awesome.
and that's several years. So in the second book, I have the new version of that same lead magnet. It's like version 3 of that magnet. I'm going to be doing a version 4, and so I collect email addresses that way. So I do hear from people. It For the first book, during the first year or two, it was about a 5% ask for that lead magnet that's in the book. It's a little bit lower percentage of books sold, but they're higher quality people that are asking for the lead magnets. And and I have so many frameworks that they can ask me for any framework that they want, and I'll spend time communicating with them on email. And I have one email specifically for the book, right, that I don't use for anything else except for the books. And that way I can keep everything isolated. Um, and and those are the people that I reach out to when the flash sale is coming up. I reach out to them individually. And the last flash sale, I had some challenges because I was going off of HubSpot and onto GHL, and I hadn't had the email list come over fully yet and learn how to do the GHL email. So I'm almost there now, but I do collect email addresses that way. It's something that's very important over time, and those are some of those people become your raving fans, and people that all of a sudden I'll read a LinkedIn post about my book or even an X post about my book, and it's like,
Honestly,
the
I'm
heck?
looking at your reviews, and some of these are just really detailed. I just sorted by recent, and Ahmed, you're the top, the most recent
Yeah,
review on the book we're talking about today. But people gave like super detail. I want to answer your question, which I don't have all the answers about this, but it's very difficult to guarantee. You can't guarantee getting things on
yeah,
Amazon,
yeah.
and so I don't. What I do is we talk about collecting reviews. I want to collect 50 advanced reviews because we get them on an Amazon, we get them on Google in a Google form. And then we guide people to go post it on Amazon. And there could be a bunch of reasons it doesn't actually happen, from people being forgetful, people being confused, people haven't spent $50 in the last 12 months on that account.
Right.
It's overly promotional, it's overly detailed and looks like it's promotional. It's too much of flattery of the author. It's too vague. They're getting a lot stricter this season. It kind of went to the point where it was extremely strict, and it's loosened maybe a tiny bit. But if people give you the review via email or LinkedIn, or you collect it in a form like I do, then yes, you can repurpose it. Goodreads is a great place because the Goodreads count also shows up on Amazon. LinkedIn recommendations, another place I could send some people. And usually at the end of a campaign bill, I'll have the author go through all the reviews that were on the form and identify 4 or 5, 6 that would be great as LinkedIn testimonials, and we'll go back and we'll way after the reviews are all
Yeah.
the push for the campaign is done. Go back and ask a few people to write those, and if we get 3 or 4 of those to happen, that's solid because then that stays on the LinkedIn profile. And then you can also use someone, you get permission to put it on your website or create a graphic or a social like you said. But it's wonderful, like that idea that other people will suddenly start talking about your content. This still
Yeah,
happens
it's
in my
great.
first book. People randomly talk about croissants versus bagels. They hear about it on NPR. Someone tells a friend. Next, you know, people are writing about it. They hear about it at a conference. Someone tags me and says that's Robbie's thing. I pop in the conversation. I'm like, whoa, you know, and this is
Yeah.
going back in 2017 when that was happening. So
Your bagels book was featured on Amazon email blast yesterday.
what?
It was one of about a dozen books that they said update your Kindle library.
Will you please forward that to me?
You
Yeah,
didn't know that, Robbie?
No, because you don't pay for these things. It just happens. I would
it
love
just
Bill.
happened. Yeah,
Bill,
Yeah.
send it to me. When the book first came out, it did get shared in an email like that, and someone told me about it back in 2017. And that book has the least number of reviews of all my books. It's like 100 and I don't know, like 80
yeah.
or something. But yeah, no, I mean these are the things that happen when you continue to push. You know, it sounds like you both have really made a lot of progress around tying the book back to the business, and it's not just this vanity project. And kudos to both of you for getting that clarity and thinking about how to leverage the book. What has been the easiest or best? Easy is the wrong word. What is the best way you've gotten the book out into the world? Whether it's people paying you for bulk orders, you giving away books. Could be the Kindle flash sale at 99 cents. Like Bill, let's actually go to Ahmed. Ahmed, what is the way you've managed to get dozens of books out at a time to the people who want to be reading it?
Well, I think for me, not having a lot of experience with book publishing and marketing, I really learned a lot from your Kindle flash sale that we had last April. And I've been, brutally honest, Robbie and Bill. I think what I learned by being in that flash sale, I learned a lot from you, Bill, from David Newman, from you, Robbie, and it
Mhm.
just helped me connect. And I feel like in a platform where I'm talking to entrepreneurs, coaches, speakers that have the same goal, but they can have good synergy about what we're sharing, business, careers, and so forth. So I really got a lot out of that Kindle flash sale, and I'm using my book. When I did the first one, it was like more like an authority packaging framework for my business. So it's gonna be like when I go speak, it's like, here is my book. This keynote is based on my book, and it gives me some more credibility instead of just talking about resume and bio. I just say, hey, what I'm gonna be talking about is gonna be really based on my book that I just wrote, and it just takes me a long way. When I talk to my audiences, and it's just going to be a lessons learned, like what Bill is saying is you keep learning and updating, and I think it's at the end of the day, it's all about packaging and positioning this book along with your working session, breakout session, keynote,
Right.
mastermind, podcast. So it's packaged, so it's all together. And sometimes you're not going to count on selling the books. It's just going to be part of the process, the
Right.
whole package.
This is Lois Kramer talks about this a lot. Like, how do you
Yes.
sell bulk orders of books when you're trying to sell a speech? She's got some great lines about that. I think it's really important that you are thinking about how you're going to be using this book and learning also from other fellow authors and speakers. I mean, this is kind of, to me, community is the biggest piece of this. So you mentioned Kindle Flash Sale. So if folks go to kindleflashsale.com, they'll either see the page to sign up for the next one, or the wait list for the next one, or they might be lucky enough to also find dozens of books on sale, depending on the time of year they check that out. So kindleflashsale.com 3 times a year in April, July, and November is when we host that. And one of the benefits of being part of that Kindle Flash Sale campaign is getting invited to be on these author panels, which is how Ahmed and Bill ended up here. Bill, what about you? How would you answer that question about like the ways you've managed to get your book out into the hands of the people who need it most?
I have a variety of ways, but I will say that the largest uh, week or so of highest volume sales came from BookBub's new release for less. I was able to catch that because it's a timing thing. It has to be when your book launches versus when you do the new release for less. It's 99 cent promotion, obviously, but I saw hundreds of books during that. And it moves you up. You know, you're one of the hot new releases. You're number one or two in several categories. And my nonfiction business books are in tough categories, even though I try to maneuver them around a little bit. Amazon just changes whenever they want. So, but I have a couple of pictures of it being against some of the biggest name top authors, top selling books in the world, at least for a week or two.
Yeah, I
You
have a
know,
screenshot at the top of my LinkedIn of my book in front of one of Malcolm Gladwell's and one of Seth Godin's books.
yeah,
I can't say it was a week or two. It was an hour or two.
yeah. But
They
for
move
me,
fast.
yeah, but for me, I'm on a fair amount of podcasts. It's not high volume, but
Right.
they're selected podcasts. I do some book bug promotions. I've done the flash sale twice now. I will do the one at the end of this year again. I put both books up for 99 cents, even if only one of them might. No, the last time I had both books in the sale. The first time I had just launched What Every CEO Must Know, so that was the only book there. I sell a fair amount of books during the flash sale. The first one I got a lot of reviews. The second one I didn't really as much. I think I got a couple, two or three.
Yeah.
But I think a fair amount of people bought the book, which is interesting. But I moderate panels at a conference every year for 6 years in a row in Florida. I give away 10 signed copies of my book. And for those that were in line but didn't get a signed copy of the book, because they're heavy, so I don't ship them to Florida from Minnesota. So I sell a fair amount of books that night at full price, whether they buy paperback or
Nice.
they could buy any of the other formats. But and then I have a professional blog on TMCnet, which is a top 1% website authority. I have a blog over there that I've had since 2021, and there's been almost 600,000 visits to my blog posts.
Let me jump in here, Bill. You said something that made me think about one of the things I did in February, and I'm out to go to another conference, so it's a good reminder. I showed up to a conference with a dozen books to give away. I have 4 books, so I took 3 of each, and I found a person who needed it. Like, I just had them with me. I had at least one of each in a bag throughout the conference, and as I had conversations with people and their eyes would light up about something I was talking about, I would reach in my bag and I'd be like, "Oh, here you go. Would you like a copy?" I had a Sharpie with me. If they wanted me to sign it, sure, I'll sign it. People were blown away. Like, honestly, really fun. Like, not a way to
Yes.
sell books, but it was a really fun conversation to kind of surprise a person, make an impression. I don't remember the people I've met, but I've had them reach out to me since, because
Right.
they actually went home and read the book. And then they actually
Yeah.
wrote me to say they read the book, and like, amazing. So I'm about to go to a conference this weekend, and I need a good reminder to leave in my suitcase.
Always bring books. So I
Always bring-
advertise when I'm coming up to the panel. Of course, they advertise it as well as myself, the company.
Sure.
But I always say I give away 10 signed copies at the end of my session. Just line up, and if there's another session coming in afterwards, I move like out in the hallway.
Sure.
But I stand there and sign the books. I come up with a new saying for every year, depending on the topic that the panel was about. The last 3 years has been on the AI track, and I have real CEOs on my panels. It's called the CEO Insights panel that I named, but I have 3 or 4 CEOs on the panel, and whatever the topics were, I come up with the tagline, like practice safe, secure AI or something like that.
I'm gonna wrap us up here a little bit because we're coming almost to the end of our time, and I wanted to
Yeah.
know, Ahmed, just a really quick, like, what advice would you give someone who's writing a book to help them grow their business? Some lesson maybe you've learned, could be something you've already said that you want to reinforce, or something new. What's some kind of advice you'd give to an author writing a book for their business?
That is a loaded question, Ravi. So the short answer is really for people that are non-English speaking like myself, I think it would help if you can just record and just transcribe your conversation, especially if you're technical like Bill. If it's finance or IT or telecom, whatever, just keep transcribing. Write down whatever your ideas. Don't worry about the editing yet. So just go and write your book. Don't worry about the flow, the organization, the design, and all that stuff. Just keep writing. Somebody else is going to help you with the editing and the
Brilliant.
formatting stuff, because
Awesome.
you want to share your ideas, you want to make an impact, and you need to be out there. You need to
Yeah.
publish your book.
Well, and it's got to be your ideas. Like that's the whole key here. It starts
Yeah.
with your ideas, then someone can help shape them. There's all
Your
kinds of
story.
support out there. I love that. Bill, what about you? What kind of advice would you offer someone?
Well, I always answer this one the same way, and I've mentioned it already once today, but write it for one person.
Mm-hmm.
As you write, one person, think about changing one person's life, because if you do that, you'll come up with your ideal reader profile, and then a lot of people surround that ideal reader profile. So I
Yeah.
have a lot of people that do contact me on LinkedIn, uh, or they buy it and ask me for my lead magnet. Uh, they're either getting ready to move into a CEO role, so they're aspiring CEOs,
Sure.
or they just got there and they're looking for all the help they can get.
Yeah, you don't
So
want to be writing generically. No one's going to respond if it's for everybody.
if it's for everybody, it's for nobody. That's
Right.
true.
Exactly.
And the other thing is, and you just mentioned it with Ahmed there, is that use your original ideas, your original experiences. Don't write with AI. If you want to use AI to do an edit pass or something, that's fine to find, but that's not what you really should be doing. Let your editor do that with you. And do hire a professional editor. If you don't, you're going to be paying for that. People will
with
make comments
with
in
negative
your
reviews. Yes.
with negative reviews,
Yeah, I've
and
seen a lot of that lately.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also
So
formatting. I saw a whole bunch of reviews in someone's books where they were like good content, but it was annoying to read because the formatting.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh boy. Hey,
yeah.
Bill, where can people find you and follow your work?
So the easiest thing to do is go to my website, beelinebill.com. It's
Mhm.
BEELINEBILL.com. And I'm in the just updated the homepage today. There are some new offers on there that are all built around my books. Uh,
Mhm.
just taking that out to market. Primarily I've been doing consulting and one-on-one CEO advisory services
Mhm.
for several years now. And I tried to come up with something that would help more people, that's less
Great.
expensive, very modest. And so I
They can
still
check
have a
it out.
few links. Yeah, I still have a few links to connect. So if somebody goes there, if it's not connecting, you could set up a call with me there. That works. But
Sure.
there's a free assessment that will be there sometime in the next few days
I
for
will also
CEOs.
put your LinkedIn and your Instagram, your YouTube, your books, of course,
Mhm.
your other links. I'll put those all in the show notes at bizbookpubhub.com. Ahmed, how can people find you and follow your work?
Yes, they can find me on my website. It's really my first name, last name.com. It's ahmedzouhair.com. And really, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on a lot of platforms like Instagram and I think Twitter and so forth.
Great. Awesome. We'll put some links in the show notes. Again, everyone, it's at bizbookpubhub.com, which is where you'll find all the resources mentioned today, but also all the show notes for all the previous episodes. We've got over 500 episodes. You got a lot you can dig into. There's a curated directory of a couple of dozen experts who will support you wherever you are in your author journey, writing, editing, publishing, launching, and marketing. Free virtual networking events every month. 1 month focused on writers and authors, the following month on speakers. Kindle flash sales, which we talked about earlier. A nascent blog we just got started, and so much more. Check it all out at bizbookpubhub.com. And thanks again, panel, so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Robbie, for doing this.
My pleasure. Yeah.